Welcome back to the deep dive. When we track the raw materials driving the global economy, we usually focus on, the heavy hitters.
Right, like oil, copper, lithium, the obvious ones.
Exactly. But right now, the real bottleneck is completely invisible. It's the helium powering the smartphone in your pocket and the MRI machine at your local hospital.
Yeah, and it's getting serious. Industry insiders are actually calling this shortage 4.0.
Right, because unlike the first three supply crunches over the last decade, which were basically, minor logistical blips or temporary
Yeah,
outages.
temporary hiccups.
Right, but this fourth wave is a systemic global crisis driven by simultaneous conflicts in the Middle East and Ukraine.
Exactly. Those geopolitical tensions are putting massive strain on a market that, honestly, most people just take for granted. We treat helium like a standard commodity, like we can just make more of it.
But treating it like that is a huge mistake, isn't it? Because it's kind of like catching lightning in a bottle. It's a non-renewable byproduct of natural gas extraction. We can't just manufacture it.
No, it's physically impossible to synthesize in a lab. What's fascinating here is that nearly 70% of the global supply comes from just two countries.
Wait, really? Just two? But we extract natural gas everywhere from, Texas to the North Sea?
We do, but it comes down to very specific geological luck. Helium is created deep underground by the radioactive decay of elements like uranium.
Over millions of years, right?
Exactly. But because it's the second lightest element in the universe, it naturally rises. To capture it, you need a highly specific impermeable cap rock formation trapping it alongside the natural gas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the US and Qatar just happen to have those massive geological traps. And the craziest part, because its atomic weight is so low, once we release helium into the atmosphere, Earth's gravity literally cannot hold it.
It just floats away.
It permanently escapes into space, gone forever.
So we have a critical resource that we can't make, relies on rare geology, and literally leaves the planet if it leaks. That perfectly explains the extreme vulnerability. Like when Qatar's Ras Laffan facility faced shutdowns.
Yeah, and the shipping disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz.
Right. Nearly one-third of global production just vanished from the market.
And getting it out of the ground is really only half the battle. The logistics of moving it are arguably the bigger crisis.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because extracting it sounds hard, but transporting it sounds like, I don't know, trying to deliver a melting ice sculpture across the desert.
That is the perfect way to put it. Because helium has the lowest boiling point of any element, it must be cooled to negative 269 degrees Celsius just to become a liquid for transport.
Which is exactly why the tech and medical industries need it so desperately, right? I mean, it's the only element cold enough to keep MRI magnets superconducting.
Right, or to cool high-end silicon wafers during manufacturing without freezing them solid.
But transporting it at that temperature is basically a race against thermodynamics. You're putting it in these million-dollar cryogenic containers, but it still naturally warms up over time.
Precisely. So if a cargo ship gets held up in the Red Sea for, say, 2 weeks,
The pressure builds inside those tanks, the safety valves release, and the payload literally boils off into the sky.
exactly. A simple 2-week shipping delay leads to irreversible product loss. And it takes the supply chain months to normalize. You can't easily stockpile it like barrels of crude oil.
Because it just evaporates.
Right. And because you can't swap helium out for a different gas in these high-tech processes, demand is completely inelastic. Manufacturers absolutely must have it.
Which forces suppliers into a brutal allocation hierarchy. Let me guess. The highest bidder wins, and everyone else just shuts down their assembly lines.
Pretty much. When supply drops, high-margin AI chips and life-saving MRI machines get absolute priority.
And lower-end stuff, like everyday PCs or smartphones.
They face immediate, hard supply cuts.
So what does this all mean for the end user? Like, if we map out this supply chain, a disruption in a single Middle Eastern trade route directly throttles the global AI race.
Without question. If we connect this to the bigger picture, just look at South Korea and Taiwan. They're the epicenters for advanced memory and logic chips.
Right.
And they rely on the Middle East for over 65% of their helium. So a localized conflict there immediately threatens the hardware outputs the entire global tech sector relies on.
That is terrifying. And it's not just tech hardware. We see the exact same fallout in healthcare. Like, India relies heavily on imported helium to keep their MRI infrastructure running.
Oh, absolutely. Though it seems that pressure is actually forcing some positive adaptation there.
Mhm.
The scarcity is rapidly accelerating the development of new low helium or even completely helium-free MRI tech.
So it is forcing innovation.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
But it also highlights a massive systemic risk. Our modern economy is just deeply reliant on these high-importance, low-visibility materials with highly concentrated supply chains.
Right. And it all functions flawlessly right up until a single geopolitical shock breaks the chain. Helium really is the ultimate case study in high-tech fragility.
That really is.
Which leaves you with a critical question to consider. If a single unmanufacturable gas escaping from a facility halfway across the world can bottleneck the global AI race and force healthcare to reinvent itself overnight, what other obscure, unmentioned raw materials are sitting in your home right now, quietly dictating the future of the global economy?
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.